Kentish Town Station reopened in December 2024 after an 18-month closure, which saw a lot of refurbishment work take place and also replacing the escalators. But when this station first opened in 1907, it didn't have escalators, but lifts instead. And if you know where to look, you can still see where they used to be. Your first clue is when you come up to the northern end of the northbound platform here on the Northern Line at Kentish Town, because this is where you would have led through to the lifts. And if you look opposite, you can see some tiles which are no longer there. That would have told you which direction the trains are going as soon as you come out onto the platform. These ones in particular would have said trains to Highgate, which would have been the original terminus of this branch, which actually is the modern day Archway station instead of the modern day Highgate. Your second clue is if you take these emergency stairs, which would have been a way out if the lifts weren't working. People don't take this anymore, as you would just use the escalators here. And if you come down here, you'll very clearly see where the lifts used to be, and I assume behind these doors the lift shafts remain and would look quite cool if I was to go in. The Northern Line station wasn't the first to reach Kentish Town. What is now the Thameslink station opened much earlier in 1868, and when the tube did come here in 1907, it opened up this beautiful station building which has become synonymous across London, many of them built in a very similar style with its terracotta tiles. Starting our walk by heading south from Kentish Town, we reach South Kentish Town Station, which is built in a very similar architectural style, but it's closed and it only survived for 17 years. Lots Road Power Station, which supplied a lot of electricity to the tube, went on strike, and when power was restored, they just never decided to reopen this station because just not many people used it. And it's still here 100 years later. In the initial plans it was going to be called Castle Road, but then they went with perhaps the more boring name of South Kentish Town, just putting a compass point in a place which already existed. It's like Kentish Town West, which is nearby. I kind of wish Brent Cross West went with Brent Cross Town after the development name. I've crossed over Camden Road into Camden Square, and I'm about to cross over it again. This area was home to Amy Winehouse, hence all of the memorials people have left on this tree here. I've crossed back over the Camden Road and I've passed through Cantelow's garden, and now I'm going to head into Montpellier Gardens, which is a bit of an unusual entrance right beside a church here. The exit to Montpellier Gardens is unusual too, as it's just a gap in the houses here. You wouldn't really know there's a park tucked back there. We started off our walk by heading one stop south from Kentish Town to South Kentish Town, and now we've looped around to be one stop north at Tufnell Park Station, which is also built in a similar style. This one still has its lifts and was designed by an architect called Leslie Green. As you head down from the busy 5-road junction outside Tufnell Park Station along Tufnell Park Road, you'll come across old gate posts here, which are a remnant of a driveway which would have led down from this point to an old manor house. Almost hidden in plain sight, this. I'm gonna cut across some local parks in the area now, starting off here in Tufnell Park, playing fields. Not just Tufnell Park itself, apparently. Just across the road from the playing fields you have Foxham Gardens, which is a nice little strip of woodland to walk across. And the chains of parks continue as I cross Whittington Park here, which, if you can't work out by the floral cat sculpture here, is named after Dick Whittington, because it's said along this road, just past Archway, is where he heard the Bow Bells calling him back towards London. How fitting to have a cat cafe here as well, love that. Before you get to Archway though, you pass by Upper Holloway Station, which is the penultimate stop on the suffragette line before Gospel Oak. Part of me has gotten used to calling it the Suffragette line. Another part of me still wants to call it the Goblin line. But this wasn't always the penultimate stop. Between here and Gospel Oak, there used to be a junction road station, which was very close to where Tufnell Park Station is. I love the mosaic roundel Upper Holloway has here on its road bridge. You get these at a few overground stations. It's great intricate design. I've crossed over to the Hornsey Road where there is a Banksy art piece here. Splodge of green paint to represent the leaves that this tree just does not have. So just like how we crossed over the Camden Road twice, I'm now going to cross over the Hornsey Road twice. But first I'm heading through Ray Crescent open space here. I did wonder with a name like Royal Northern Gardens here whether that could be referring to an old hospital, and it seems like it is. From 1923 to 1977 there was one here with that name. And it seems like this fine old building might have been part of it. We're back with the Tufnell Park Road on the other side of it now as it's making its junction with Holloway Road. Half of this bus stop here suggests that it's just Tufnell Park and not Tufnell Park Road. It is believed that Tufnell Park Road is an old Roman road because it's very straight leading all the way down here. And remember the Manor House gate posts that we came across? Well, it would have brought you all the way down to where this Odeon Cinema is now, but this is actually on the site of the old manor house. This might be one of the finest looking cinemas in London. The last time I was in Holloway was for the Archway Vintage Bus Running Day, and one of the buses dropped me off here, and if I had enough time until the next one, I was considering heading into Nag's Head Market, which I never have done, but I didn't have much time, so I didn't. So I'm going to take the opportunity today to do it instead. Holloway actually has two fine old cinema buildings, but this one here, the Coronet, is no longer a cinema. It's been turned into a pub, but it's kept its facade and it looks great inside. I thought I'd peek my head in quite quickly. I'm on the Camden Road again as it's leaving Holloway, and if you walk up it, you come across a church without the top of its spire. Apparently, it was lost due to corrosion in the 1990s. Quite unusual to come across this. I've passed through here quite a lot on the bus, and it took me a long time to realise that the top of that spire had gone. It also took me a long time to realise that Holloway Prison had completely been demolished. At the time of its closure in 2016, it was the largest women's prison in Western Europe and is currently being completely redeveloped into a new place called Holloway Park. I seem to keep crossing some of the main thoroughfares of North London. I'm back on the Holloway Road now by Holloway Road Station, which is not on the Northern Line but on the GNP and BRY, the Great Northern Piccadilly and Brompton Railway. I'm glad today we simplify it to just the Piccadilly line. It's another Leslie Green station who didn't use green tiles to decorate them. And like Tufnell Park, but unlike Kentish Town, this station has retained its lifts. Now, one of the lift shafts here never got used, so it was the perfect place to trial an experimental spiral escalator in the lift shaft. But it didn't work. It broke almost immediately. But it's a nice idea, I guess. Oh, and I should also point out that the East Coast Main Line runs right next door to Holloway Road Station. And there even used to be a station up there called Holloway and Caledonian Road. Now, because of the lift situation, it would be a very slow way of unloading a lot of people coming to the Emirates Stadium here, which is only a couple of minutes walk up the road. So on match days, Holloway Road is closed. We've actually ended up visiting a lot of football stadiums recently, purely by chance, less so planning to do so, including Millwall, Fulham, Chelsea, and now Arsenal. Just like with Stamford Bridge recently, I'm going to walk around the outside of the Emirates, which I love that you get to do. And because we've been focusing on railways a lot today, which I usually do to be honest, I should point out how all of this ground here used to just be old railway sidings. You'll find a lot of maps around the Holloway and Highbury area that suggest that this stadium is not yet opened. It opened back in 2006, but then maps have been left in place and still suggest that the old Highbury Stadium, which is nearby, of which you can still see, is not yet closed. There's a bit of foreshadowing there of what we're about to see. A print of the facade of the old Highbury Stadium on the new Emirates Stadium. I love this spot here as you leave, because it's very quiet right now, but you can imagine just how heaving it would be when a match is on. Just thousands of people in constant flow up and down the staircase, and I bet it takes ages to probably get through. And just around the corner in Highbury Hill, you have Arsenal's old stomping grounds for 93 years, the old Highbury Stadium, which has been turned into apartments, but I love that the facade of the old stadium is still here. I think it was a bit of a missed opportunity when West Ham moved to the Olympic Park. The old stadium there got completely demolished. It's also new apartments now, but there's kind of no indication of the old stadium, of which used to be there before. I've always loved coming to Arsenal Tube Station on a non-match day because it's quite unusual, because it's such a huge station entrance, no one's really here, and it's just tucked into a very normal suburban street with a neat row of houses. When this first opened, it did have a little Leslie Green entrance like some of the other stations we've seen today. This rebuild came much later when Arsenal moved out here from Woolwich. Upon opening, it was known as Gillespie Road. The name change also happened later. You can actually still see the original station name of Gillespie Road on tiles at platform level here. And much like Upper Holloway Station we saw earlier, it also has a mosaic roundel. What you usually find with this old underground roundel is that the diamonds are placed in between each of the letters. And only here and the subway entrances to Manor House Station, which is nearby, have I ever seen them be spaced out evenly instead. I've come into Gillespie Park. If you ever come here for the football, you might be aware of just how long of a walk it is from the platforms to the station exit. So I'm kind of standing on top of the platforms right now, but I do wonder how many people that come here for the football don't realise that you can still see the old Highbury Stadium. If you ever come here, make sure to go and check it out, it's worth a visit. When I've come here before, I've just headed straight up here alongside the railway tracks towards Finsbury Park, but I'm instead going to take this little path beside me here for the first time. Just like the Emirates Stadium, this used to all be old railway sidings too. I think the plan at one stage was to develop it and turn it into new houses, but that didn't end up happening. Instead, it became this lovely little nature reserve. That's a nice little cut through from Arsenal to Finsbury Park stations, and now that I've done that, I've passed over the bus station into Finsbury Park itself, which has always been one of my favourite London parks. I've always been particularly fond of this rock garden here, but they've stripped a lot of it away in recent years to build a new playing area instead. It's been a little bit of a family history walk for me today. I used to come to Finsbury Park a lot when I was a kid. My mum used to work around Holloway. There was a London Irish Centre which I passed in Camden Square near the beginning, and funnily enough my grandparents were Irish and both lived in Kentish Town, so there's a lot of family ties to today's walk. It's been quite nice. I remember this play area used to be very different. It was a bunch of gangways that were painted red that led down to multiple different slides. It's like a maze. It was quite fun, but it's all different now. I don't think I've been in Finsbury Park since I did the Capital Ring, which was about 4.5 years ago now. So quite a long time, considering I used to come here quite regularly as a kid. It's quite unusual for me to be back here. The new river passes through Finsbury Park, and a fun fact I love to reiterate every time we come across this is that it's neither new nor a river. It's an aqueduct that was built in 1613 to bring fresh drinking water to the residents of London. I've left Finsbury Park and I'm by Haringey Green Lanes station, 2 stops up from Upper Holloway. This station has gone through many name changes in its life. First opening as Green Lanes, then Haringey Park Green Lanes, then Haringey Park, then Haringey Stadium, then Haringey East, and then finally Haringey Green Lanes. Is there another station in London that's gone through more name changes than this one? The Haringey Stadium name, by the way, comes from an old Greyhound stadium that was here. I think there was even a boxing arena adjacent to it. And the retail park, which is here today, actually is called Arena Shopping Park. Opposite the station lies Railway Fields Nature Reserve, which, if you can infer from the name, is much like Gillespie Park. This was once old railway land, and if you were to head in here to the back beside the New River, you can actually come across a piece of old railway that's been left in place. Now, Haringey, the place name, is different to Haringey, the borough name, for some reason. The place is spelt with 2 R's and an A, the borough is spelt with 1 R and an E. So does someone want to come along and tell this snooker club here that they've got both of the names incorrect? That's a funny mistake. Now, the Piccadilly line runs right under Green Lanes, but there is no station in Haringey, despite the fact that it would make a great interchange. But there could have been, and this very much looks like an underground station building, one that's perhaps seen better days. And this may have been a station called St Anne's or St Anne's Road, but they decided that there was enough stations in this area already. It still wouldn't make the best interchange, to be honest, because there's quite a walk down Green Lanes from the other Haringey stations. It is still used as an emergency exit for the tube though, and is a very similar building at the top of Nightingale Road between Wood Green and Bounds Green stations. So because there's no station at St Anne's, I'm having to walk a bit further up to Turnpike Lane station. I'm doing that by cutting across Duckett's Common at the end of my walk today. I've been wanting to do that walk for a while, but I've just been waiting for Kentish Town to reopen. Even then, it's taken me a month and a half into the year to actually get it done. So thank you for joining me on that trip across North London today. It's been fun and a little bit nostalgic as well.